Joined by the fantastic Dr. Hank Seitz and John Makarewicz. Welcome to the show, guests.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Julian.
How did I go with the names? I didn't do a test run on the surnames. Did we do all right?
You nailed it, and mine's a tough one. So great job. Yeah, you got it right.
Awesome. Yeah, the Polish ones, I can handle those ones. All right, let's load up the board. The categories today are Japan, mountains, state flowers, U.S. state flowers, American Revolution, Egypt, and presidential ailments. On the left there, John, you can kick things off. What would you like? Hey, John, you look like Tony Hawk. Has anyone ever told you that?
No, actually,
okay.
no.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, there was a famous baseball player in Atlanta where I live, John Schmaltz. So that's the usual one I get. But
okay.
Yeah, we'll go with Tony. Yeah,
Tony Hawk, that's a cool one. All right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
what would you like?
Let's do mountains for 100, Julian.
Mountains for 100. The Nepalese call it Sagamatha.
So do we just say the answer?
You just holler if you got it.
Yeah, okay. What is Everest?
Everest is correct. Well done. John, what would you like? Off to a good start.
Let's do Japan for 100.
Japan for 100. Major teams in this sport include the Hiroshima Toyo Carp, the Fukuoka Hawks, and the Oryx Buffaloes. What sport?
What is baseball?
Baseball is correct.
All right.
Wow. Lots of great Japanese players in the major leagues. Shohei, Showtime. And who's another one? Who knows? There's another pitcher for the Dodgers.
Yeah, his name escapes me, but yeah. I'm not a big baseball guy, candidly. I just knew the Japanese love baseball.
Well, you got it right.
That's right.
What would you like next?
But I'm also picking the 100s, right? So we'll see how this goes as we get
It's a good strategy for getting them correct.
Yeah. Let's do American Revolution for 100.
American Revolution for 100. Holiday on which Washington crossed the Delaware. If you know it, Dr. Hank, holler.
I'm going to say, what is President's Day?
John said, what did you say?
Day.
And what did you say, Hank?
Independence Day.
It says Christmas. Is that correct?
You are. It is correct. It is correct. I was thinking like Washington Day, which became President's Day, but I
was thinking
that is actually dead on. It was Christmas.
Because of the event, they created a holiday. Not that he did it on a pre-existing holiday. It's a bit tricky.
Is that where Christmas came from?
Yeah, that's right. When he crossed the river. That's yes. Sorry to all the Sunday school teachers. John, what would you like?
Let's do mountains for 200.
Mountains for 200. Cotopaxi, the world's highest active volcano, rises just south of Quito, Ecuador, in these mountains. Ecuador's mountains, who knows what they are?
I'm going to say, what is Patagonia?
Patagonia. It's the Andes, of course. The famous one that the plane crash did do with all the rugby players and they had to eat each other. John, what would you like?
Japan 200.
Japan for 200. Some 20 to 30% of these are still arranged by friends and relatives or a go-between called nakado. 20 to 30% of these are still arranged by friends and relatives or a go-between. Something that's arranged.
What are marriages?
I did not know that they did that in Japan. It is correct. Well done.
Nice. All right, let's stick with Japan. I feel good about Japan. 300.
Feeling good. 300 for Japan. Once the Fleet Street of Tokyo, it's now the most famous shopping and entertainment district.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because there's a song that I love named after this district and it just flew out of my brain.
Hank, you got anything on the deep recesses?
No, no idea.
What does Fleet Street mean?
Shibuya.
Oh, hello. We've got a late entry. It was Ginza.
All right, never mind. That was completely off.
Now that I hear that, I have heard of that. I don't know what I've heard of Ginza knives, or is it Ginzu? Anyway.
Yeah. I think Shibuya is like their Times Square, so maybe it's not the shopping district, but it's like anyway.
It's one of the districts. So you were barking up the right tree.
That's right.
You're still in control, John.
Let's go for 400 with Japan.
400 Japan. 2 of the country's 4 main islands.
No idea. Hank, come on. I need some help here.
This is your opportunity, Hank. Hank, are you looking on your phone?
I'd say I would never do that. With ChatGPT, you mean? Hanshu and Kyushu.
Let me just make that bigger. Did you say Kyushu and Honshu? Yeah, that's correct. We'll give it to you, Hank.
There you go.
All right.
ChatGPT.
I want 500 for Egypt.
500 for Egypt. Go big. Though founded in Cairo in 1945, in 1979, this organization suspended Egypt's membership. Something that was founded in Cairo during World War II. In 1979, this organization suspended Egypt's membership. Probably due to something that some Egyptians did.
Jeez.
I mean, there's not a great deal of terrorism coming out of there, but there has been a few. I don't know if that was what it was. I'll get myself in trouble. So what was the organization?
My brain is saying OPEC, but I don't think that's it. But it's the only thing that's coming to mind.
That's a good guess.
Ooh, that's it. Yeah.
Let's have a look. It was the Arab League.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, I was trying to think of what would be equivalent for kind of like NATO for the Middle East.
That's pretty much what it was, I think. Yeah. All right.
400 Egypt.
400 Egypt. It's said the Mosque of Ibn Tulun has the only spiral one of these in the world.
What is a pyramid?
Yeah,
just guessing.
It's a minaret. I think that's just a big spike thing, isn't it? On top of the you know how the mosques have those big things on the top?
Yeah.
It must be that's what it is.
That's right.
Dr. Hank, what would you like?
Let's see. We'll take Egypt 300.
Egypt 300. Though union with Syria fell through, Gamal Abdel Nasser continued to call Egypt this.
Africa.
The United Arab Republic, UAR. Interesting. So they had a brief thing where they were joined together. It's a real history type category, this one. If you haven't done Egypt history, which I haven't, we've got no chance.
Well, I actually took Egypt history, and I've been to Egypt. I don't know.
Well, hang in there, Dr. Hank. There's 2 more.
None of those. 200 Egypt.
200 Egypt. Nefertari and Nefertiti were 2 of them.
What are pharaohs?
Pharaohs, yeah.
No. They were queens, like Cleopatra. The pharaohs were the kings. Close, but no. I was going to say something Egyptian that would be equivalent of a cigar, but I run out of things there. Dr. Hank, yes, you're still in control. 100 Egypt. While the pharaohs built ancient wonders, Ferdinand de Lesseps built this modern one. John, this might be an old answer of yours.
Pyramids?
Oh, well, I just gave you a shocking bum steer. Suez Canal, sorry.
Yeah. You led me down the wrong path there, Julian.
I would love to see the Suez Canal.
State flowers for 100.
State flowers for 100. Everything's better with this state flower of Texas on it. Who's the Texan?
Actually, I live in Texas, so the blue bonnets.
Blue bonnet. Let's take a look. It is correct. Well done, Dr. Hank. You're on the board. Nice. You're on 500 points. You've actually taken the lead.
State flowers, 200.
State flowers, 200. colloquial term for German mercenaries who served with the British?
I don't know, traitors.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the answer that came to my mind might somewhat be offensive, but I'm thinking probably more World War II than American Revolution. But no idea on this one.
You know what? It probably is that term. Does it start with a K?
Krauts?
Yeah.
I was thinking the Krauts,
Let's take a look.
yeah.
Hessians. Do you know, my dad was on a holiday, and he was in Singapore, and he was on a bus, and there was some Germans on the back, and he said something, and the Australian accent is quite hard to understand, and these German people thought he was calling them Krauts, and they went berserk, and it was very funny. I thought it was funny. I was a little kid at the time. Anyway, who's in control? I've lost the plot. Dr. Hank, you're still in control.
Okay, 200 state flowers.
200 state flowers. You'll find this flower of Oklahoma hanging around at Christmas. Oklahoma, what do they got? They got mountains. What type of flower?
What is mistletoe?
Mistletoe. Is that where that's from? Well
Maybe.
done. John.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Does anyone actually hang that at Christmas?
My wife does, actually.
Oh, it does,
We have
okay.
it grows in trees around here. It's kind of a weed in trees, I guess. And so, occasionally she'll pull some down, but that's if we find it, right? We don't go out and buy it. But
Do you know that
like
in Australia, sometimes they will put plastic mistletoe because we don't even know what it is or where to get it?
That's right.
And it's also like 100 degrees at Christmas. Anyway, John, what would you like?
Wow.
Let's do state flowers 300.
State flowers 300. To protect this state's flower, they might post signs reading, "Keep your tar heels off the dogwood." It's got to be
North Carolina. What is North Carolina?
North Carolina. It's got to be somewhere down there. North Carolina. You got it. You got the right one as well. Well done.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's do 400.
400
State flowers.
state
Yep.
flowers. Since it's about 500 miles away from any other state, no wonder its flower is the forget-me-not.
Would be Alaska?
Alaska.
What is Alaska?
Well done. What's the flower?
For the forget-me-not, right? Isn't that a flower?
Isn't it like you pull the petals off or something and he forgets me not? And then the last one
the
is...
Daisy. Daisy must be the
Daisy,
That's
yeah.
right.
I've heard of
Yeah,
that being
that's
done.
right.
I've seen people do that
got
in
it.
elementary school. John, what would you like?
State flowers 500.
State flowers, 500. The flowers of this pair of states are the wild prairie rose and the pasque flower.
What are the Dakotas?
Dakotas, north and south. Well done, John. You're really good with the state flowers.
Yeah, that was the category I was most nervous about.
Wow.
But yeah, here we go. Let's do American Revolution 300.
American Revolution 300. Under the Treaty of Paris, the British ceded Florida back to this country.
What is Spain?
They probably said, we don't want this one. Spain.
Yeah.
Well done.
Right.
Sometimes us in America question that a
You
little
think
bit
about
too.
that as
I'm
well.
joking.
Let's get
I
rid
love
of Florida.
I love Florida. It's
Sorry.
It's a place full of characters and interesting people. That's for
Exactly.
sure. But I love it.
We take it back. We take it all back. John, what would you like?
400 American Revolution.
400 American Revolution. After England passed the Stamp Act, Samuel Adams helped form this opposition group in Boston.
The Tea Party.
Oh, the Tea
What is
Party.
the Tea Party?
Gotta be. You both got it. John. Oh, no. Sons of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was that as well.
Wow.
John, you're still in control?
Let's do 500 American Revolution.
500 American Revolution. This general did so well in the revolution, Washington made him our country's USA's first Secretary of War. He must have just kicked a bit of butt.
John
Yeah.
First general, the first famous general.
Dr. Hank, I don't know. How about you?
Nah, no idea.
Wasn't Washington? He fought as well, didn't he? Like he was like
Yeah.
a lunatic,
Yeah.
out killing people, and not a lunatic, but well, he had wood teeth apparently, so he probably was a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wood,
General
red, all
And
Henry
they were
Knox.
wealthy too.
General
Henry
Henry
Knox.
Knox.
Okay, Fort Knox. Now
Fort
it's all coming
Knox.
together.
He made
Yeah.
Fort Knox where they put all the money. John,
That's right.
what would you like?
Mountains 300.
Mountains for 300. The tallest Greek mountain is situated on the border between Thessaly and Macedonia. Tallest Greek mountain, I would not know. Didn't even
I
know.
want to say Mount Olympia, but I'm pretty confident that's actually Turkey today.
John,
But
okay.
Let's see.
Hey man, you don't get penalised for getting it wrong.
That's right.
Anyway, what about Dr. Hank? Have you got any ideas in that region? I mean, they had a few in Italy that blew up. Or there was like Vesuvius,
so
Pompeii, all
it's
those,
not-
but they're volcanoes. I don't know.
Yeah, they're so Mount Olympus and what did we say on that?
I think it's in Turkey, but that your maps get redrawn a lot.
I think Mount Olympus is right.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's see.
John, you didn't lock it in.
that's true.
If Hank gets
I
it,
had.
it's Mount Olympus.
There you go.
Fortune favors the brave, Dr. Hank.
That's right.
All right, baby. 500 Japan.
500 Japan. Stylized singing called yoku is featured in this form of theatre, Japan's oldest.
What is kabuki?
Kabuki, you were just straight off the bat there, but it was wrong. No. It was called No. I thought it was a kabuki with the white faces and all. Yeah. They probably
You know
still
what I learned recently? Kabuki theater was actually born out of giving work to former women who worked in the brothels as they aged and got older. So that was kind of an interesting tidbit I didn't realize back, 500, 600 years ago, because they would dance and perform and sing as part of their brothel
That was
experience. And so,
geishas. Did they have geishas in kabuki?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh, shit.
Well, Dr. Hank, what would you like?
400 mountains.
400 mountains. Until Alaska became a state, this mountain was the USA's tallest. Famous mountains. So hang on, we've got mountains in California. We've got mountains across the top there, like Wyoming. Isn't there one called Old something? Or no, that's a geyser.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Mount Helena.
Denali.
Okay,
in Alaska.
Denali and Helena. Let's take a look. It's Mount Whitney.
Okay.
Wow.
Dr. Hank, what would you like?
500 mountains.
Mountains, 500. This range extends from Lassen Peak in California to Fraser River in BC, British Columbia. Also, a boxer in a movie.
Sierra,
the Rocky Mountains?
Nevada range. Sierra
Oh man,
Nevada.
look, I give the worst answers. I've
Yeah, you just gave
I've
us the bad
steered you
advice.
towards Rocky, and then Sierra. That sounds good too.
I think it's Sierra.
And
the
none of them.
Cascades.
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 Well, you can read that, John. That's amazing. Normally, the guests can't read it, and I can barely read it. Dr. Hank, what would you like?
100. What is that?
Presidential ailments. A
okay,
confirmed hypochondriac, he was in constant pain because of false teeth.
I'm going with Washington.
It's got to be. We gave a little reference to that. I wonder if I knew deep down because I put these
There you go.
questions in a while ago. You got it, John. What would you like?
200.
200. He hated and feared doctors so much, this tall redhead endured a permanent wrist deformity.
Who is Lincoln?
Wow.
Wow.
And that was Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I guess he had dark hair. I thought he was. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
A ginger, a big ginger. Should we do 300? I think so. Presidential ailments, weak eye muscles and crossed eyes caused this bachelor president to walk with a habitual tilt of the head.
Don't know.
Don't
I
know.
know. I know there's one bachelor president, but the name's not coming to mind.
Yeah, it would be unusual. In today's world, you would be like, you wouldn't get elected if you're a bachelor. Everyone would think you're weird.
Obama wore a brown suit once, and they talked about it for 3 years. So yeah, you're dead on.
It was James Buchanan.
Got it. Okay. 400.
400. our shortest president. His fear of crowds made him almost hysterical when asked to speak in public. Oh, that sounds tough.
Wow.
Short king. Who was the tiny president?
I'm going to say FDR just because he was
FDR.
Which was going to say Teddy Roosevelt, but that's just because I remember him being shorter. But
now FDR stands for Franklin
Delano
Roosevelt.
So there was two Roosevelts. Were they related?
Yeah. Yes.
Father and son. Okay.
And FDR got 3 terms, and then we made a rule saying no more of that. But
I see.
He actually made the rule.
James
That's right.
Madison was the answer. Last question. Presidential ailments 500. His operation for cancer of the jaw was kept secret until long after he left office in 1897. This one's obscure. He had cancer of the jaw, which sounds horrific.
It does, yeah. 97. Yeah, that's it's an interesting era.
William McKinley, maybe?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
It was Grover. Cleveland.
Got it.
Cleveland.
Little blue guy.
And, I wish we did this when my kids were home from school because I could have just had them right out of frame, just whispering the answers to me.
Yeah, they're like
Hank.
a full bottle on these things, I think. And then you just forget about it for the rest of your life.
That's right. Exactly it.
Well, let's have a round of applause for our guests. John, 2,200, and Dr. Hank on 800. Plenty of questions answered correctly. I thought that was very well played by both of you. All right. Let's turn the music off and let's have a chat to John. John, tell us a bit about what you're up to. And your business is called Faris Capital Partners. Is that correct?
That is right. Yeah, that's right, Julian. So we are an apartment syndication business. So what that effectively means is we raise capital from investors and we go and acquire apartment buildings, typically at minimum 100 units plus, and then we execute a value add plan. So commercial real estate trades on the income approach. So our goal is to increase that net operating income. So we like the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s buildings that have good bones, more modern looks. The floor plans are still relevant today. And then we can come in and add value through renovations, the exterior, the amenities, and then of course the units. And then over time, we increase the rents because now we're offering a more premium unit. And then typically within 5 to 7 years, we're exiting that investment and getting our investors' dollars back to them. So, I started my career in residential real estate and scaled up a large residential real estate business, which was a blast, but really enjoying this new opportunity. It's allowing me to exercise a lot of the muscles, right? I love building businesses. I love growing. I like the startup kind of mentality where, every day is a little bit different, and we are absolutely a startup. We started about 2 years ago and we've already acquired 5 assets. So we're well on our way, but we still have that idea that we're just getting going. So every day we attack problems with that kind of mindset. And then, the creativity component, like looking at a building that's a little worn down and tired and trying to think through ways that we can modernize it and bring it to today's standards. So that's what I've been up to the last few years there, Julian. Interesting.
Apartments are good. We need to get into apartments, but we've got a problem down here in Australia where we just refuse to live in apartments, and instead of like making use of our space, we're just building these long corridors along the coast of houses, and it's getting ridiculous. Like it takes like 2 hours to travel from one end of my town to the other, anyway. How does it work? So it's for investors come to you and they say, I want to do an investment in real estate because real estate's great, and then you pull all the money together, and that gives you a bit of buying power. And do you look to buy several apartments in the same building or entire apartment blocks? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so we buy the entire complex. So, it depends on the nature of, when it was developed. So you do sometimes see like more of a mid-rise where it's just one, building with maybe stacked units. We typically buy what we call in the U.S. garden style apartments. Those are typically 2 or 3 stories. A complex could have anywhere from 6 to 15 buildings, where the floor plans are stacked, but you're not getting into elevators and high rises. So we generally like high growth suburban markets just outside of major cities. So we do specialize in the Atlanta, Georgia market, Charleston, South Carolina, as well as Tampa, Florida. All 3 of those markets are experiencing above average population growth. So it's exceeding the national average, as well as economic growth. And then one of the factors we look at is diverse economies. So, for example, we wouldn't buy in a market that's 100% tourism driven. Just things happen right now. For example, Donald Trump started a trade war, and, that's putting consumer confidence down. And so, you're starting to see it already. In fact, just a personal example is a beach house I rented last year. We had not booked it yet this year, and the property manager come out, and it's like 50% less expensive than it was last year to book it. So I'm glad I didn't book it, because now we're going to take advantage of that. But it's just those areas where there's not one employment sector that dominates is really what I'm saying. So it just has to have that. Mm-hmm.
It's more about the people moving into the area to live, and it's great. The great thing about real estate, you can check these things and you can predict quite well if it's going to grow or not. And is this something where you're primarily looking for rental revenue and the capital growth is a bonus, or are people mostly looking to get growth on the value of the property?
So it's really both. So what we love about, when I say value add, there's sort of 3 ways that you can invest in commercial real estate. One is opportunistic. So that's an old tired building. So a great example you're seeing today is people are taking old hotels or motels and converting them into multifamily. So potential for a bigger return, but as you know, the higher the return potential, the higher the risk profile. And then there's core, which is like a brand new building that, developers built. Typically a developer will build the building, lease it up to about 70 or 80% occupancy, and then sell it to an operator who will run that for the next, say 7 to 10 years for cash flow. Lower risk, but lower returns. Value add, we're calculating in just the natural appreciation that occurs. Land, of course, is immovable, and they're not making more of it. So, if you buy in a good area, generally real estate will just naturally appreciate over time. Obviously factors like inflation and, candidly, the trade war is something we think could potentially be helpful to us, because it's going to increase the cost of new development, which will drag up the value of the
interesting. Yeah.
But then the forced appreciation is the renovation work, right? So by adding value to the unit. So for example, we'll buy a building that maybe has, Formica countertops, white appliances, carpet, and come in, maybe knock out a wall to open the kitchen into the living room, to modernize the floor plan, put in granite, stainless steel, all new light fixtures, cabinets, hard surface floors. For example, we have a building in Tampa. The average in-place rent when we acquired it was $1,350 US. Today, our average income per unit is $1,650. So, because now we're offering something that feels new, but is $200 to $400 less in rent than the brand new building down the street, because as I mentioned, the cost to build has risen so high. Somebody who's going, I'm a little worried about what's happening in the economy. When my lease is up, I'm actually going to take a step back, but they get the same kind of amenities just at a lower cost. So that's part of our thesis when we invest with these older buildings, is that we're providing a feeling of luxury at a reduced rent compared to those newer assets that have recently been built. So the investor gets cash flow along the way, because the deals that we buy already are profitable and cash flow on day one. We force the appreciation over time, so that increases the value, because in commercial real estate, once again, it's this calculation of what's the income and then what's the capitalization rate for that area. Generally, in good market areas in a normal economy, the capitalization rate, the cap rate for an apartment building is approximately 5%. So if you think about it this way, if I had $1 in income, a net operating income on a monthly basis, that's $12 a year. That's added $240 to that building. So you can start running the numbers and go, well, what if I added $100 in monthly income, or $1,000, or $10,000? So the value increases fairly exponentially if you can drive that additional net operating income. So some other things we consider are, what amenities can we offer? So one example is, we offer something called valet trash, where twice a week somebody will come and actually take your trash from your unit and take it to the dumpster, so you don't have to do that. The company that we pay to do that charges us $25 a unit, and we charge $40 a unit to the tenant. So we're getting a few extra dollars on top, but giving something that's like a great service to the residents. Leasing washer and dryer units, there's a million different things you can do. Reserve parking is another great example, and you charge maybe $25, and all you've done is put a little paint and maybe a sign at the front of the parking space saying reserved for unit 303, and now we're getting an additional $25 a month from that resident, offering them a convenience but driving that NOI.
That's very interesting. All of those little extra. I had never ever thought of that. I thought is you got rent and capital appreciation. Now the people that invest in this, they don't hold the title, do they? You hold all the titles. They get returns on their investment. Is that how it works?
That's it. So we're what's called the general partner. So my business partner and I, we sign on the loan. We handle all the particulars around insurance. Now we do have a full team, an asset manager, acquisition, CPA. We have like a team of 10 people. But Mark and I personally sign on the loans. We arrange all the insurance. We handle all the contractors, property management teams, everything. And so an investor coming in is a limited partner. So the easiest way to think about it is they're just a shareholder in this business. So when you invest with us, you're investing in this particular building. You're not just investing with our company. So our investors like that, because they may say, you know what? Hurricanes are a thing in Florida. I know you're not in a flood zone and you haven't had any issues in the past, but I'm just a little nervous about the hurricanes. But I bring them something in Charleston and they like that. So they're not just investing in a portfolio or the company, they're actually investing in this one particular deal. So they can be selective in which opportunities they choose to be involved in. But once again, it's like you're a shareholder. How I view it is, what we do is we are a business buying another business. It just happens to be an apartment building.
And how long does the deal go for, and what type of amount do people need to have of capital to invest in it? Does it vary, and what's the average?
Yeah, so in the United States, to offer a security, this is a security, this investment, you have to be what's called an accredited investor. So there's some income limits and some net worth limits. So you only have to meet one. So in the U.S., that's $200,000 in annual income, $300,000 with your spouse, or $1 million in investable assets, or a $5 million net worth. So if you meet one of those criteria, you're eligible to invest. We have a $100,000 US dollar minimum, and our average hold time is 5 years. We do have an optional 2-year extension. So if there was some fundamental shift in the economy and we just felt like waiting a year or two would be prudent for our investors, we can exercise that. But the goal for us when we buy an asset is to target a minimum of a 20% annual return on investment. So effectively in 5 years, we would have doubled your investment. That's the goal. And that's if it doesn't meet that requirement on our underwriting, we're not going to do that deal. So that just gives us a little margin for, once again, things outside of our control. But, generally we're able to hit those targets just based on, the value add strategy I outlined. Interesting.
And so you've got to comply with all the SEC stuff, being a security.
That's right.
Are you familiar with Grant Cardone's offering?
I am, yeah. I mean, I'm not ultra familiar. I'm highly aware of Grant Cardone. Actually, back when I was running the real estate business, some of his books were quite popular among our sales team. So he then sort of pivoted away from sales consulting and that into this apartment business. But what he's actually doing is the core that I mentioned. So he'll go in and buy newer buildings that are massive, 600-700 units. It's a great strategy. He actually has I think a $5,000 minimum. So the reason we have 100,000, and absolutely that's a big number. But our goal is to provide the best investing experience in the world. So We feel that if we can bring in fewer investors, we can provide a better service to them. So a great example is one of our investors is down vacationing in Florida right now. They're actually Canadian. A lot of our investors are from Canada, our founding partners from there. And they're just very challenged with real estate in Ontario specifically. The value and the cost of real estate is so high, you can't really invest in real estate and get cash flow. So a lot of our investors come from there. Well, they happen to be down here, so they're going to do a VIP tour of one of the investments they're invested in. I mean, we're bringing in champagne, charcuterie, and making it a day. And it sounds a little silly, but it's just that idea. We want to make all our investors just feel like the most important people in the world. So we do have that higher minimum investment, but it just goes back to we have annual events, we bring in speakers, and we do a lot of things just to try to add value beyond the investment.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing all the fundamentals right as well, which is lower risk. And I just want to say, I wasn't bringing up Cardone in the sense of him being a valid option. I think he's actually I think he's doing something very dodgy. At the risk of being sued, but don't invest.
You said it, not me.
Don't invest with Grant Cardone. Invest with John. That's what I'll say. All right. Well, that's interesting. So if you're out there and look, at the moment the stock market is a bit scary, and nobody knows what's going to happen. And when it's like this, these types of real estate funds are really good. And because people always need somewhere to live, and people are still moving into areas, and things are growing, and down here, real estate just continues to go up and up and up. It is the safest investment out there, and I think it outperforms stocks over the long term as well. I'm not giving any types of advice. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Definitely for me, I view it as it's a diversification play, right? So in other words, a lot of people put their money in the stock market, those public markets, and that's great. But for me, as an individual, I was so busy with my career, the idea of like on weekends changing out carpet and repainting my rental property just didn't seem appealing, right? And so when I discovered this style of investing as a way that I can invest in real estate without actually having to do the work. And the work for the investor is just, picking the right operator and doing their due diligence to make sure that not only is the investment sound, but is the operator sound. And so, doing that legwork on the front end, then you invest, and then you're getting your distributions on a monthly basis, and then at the exit. So you're investing in real estate, but without, getting a phone call from a tenant at midnight saying the water heater broke. And that's your problem.
Exactly.
Right. So we handle those details.
And John, you said that you shoot for 20%. Now, is there any, there's no guarantee with the actual returns?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Unfortunately, we can't guarantee it. All we can do is try to choose the best markets and the best assets in those markets. But there is absolutely risk, as in any other investment. So you have to be very thoughtful and make sure what you're investing is an amount. It's like anything else. Yeah, I was listening to Charlie Munger, an old talk he gave. Of course, he passed away recently, but a brilliant guy. And he's just like, it's like the stock market. If you can't stomach a 50% loss, then you shouldn't be in the stock market. Now, you said something that I think is dead on, that the demand for housing will never go away. And so when you're thoughtful about the area and the market, even if we underperform our projections, we will, I can't say we'll never lose your money, but it's just that idea that, it would be difficult just based on the right areas and the right approach. But it could absolutely happen. And right now, actually, a lot of operators that were active post-pandemic, the market heated up. And I think about Warren Buffett, right? He says, when everybody's greedy, get fearful. And when everybody's fearful, get greedy. Yeah. And there was a period of time 2-3 years ago where everybody was greedy. And now a lot of those deals are trading below what they sold for 2-3 years ago. So, making sure you're thinking about what's happening in the market cycle right now. Is this market overheated? So I look at the cap rates. If a deal's trading at a 4% cap rate, like that's a big question mark, because it's like a little too aggressive, because we're probably not going to have a 3% cap rate, right? So if that cap rate goes to 5, even if you increase NOI, just the way that the math works, your value may have even gone down. So for us, we like to buy at like a 5.5 cap and then hopefully trade at a 5 cap as the market improves. Right now, we are in a more challenged market because of some of the issues I just mentioned. So some of the things we do to protect our investors is we only take fixed rate debt, so no floating rate debt. So we're not exposed to market fluctuations with interest rates. We always have 6 months of principal and interest in reserve and a 10% contingency budget over and above our capital expenditure budget. So if we think it's 100,000, we have 110, and that helps account for product fluctuations, price fluctuations. And then the third is we only buy deals that cash flow on day one. And so those three things will help protect and mitigate risk for investors, but they cannot fully mitigate that risk, right? You just never know. It's like the pandemic. Who could have predicted something like that? Things do happen, those black swan events. So you just have to be careful in your decision making as an investor. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the subprime thing as well. Like, these things sort of come out of nowhere for most people. The good thing is those things, because they happen, they sort of need to happen, and then everything gets a lot better. And I think things are looking pretty stable as far as real estate goes for a long time. Anyway, if you want to have a chat to John and just have a chat, how does it work? Do people make a time and have a chat to you personally, or do you have somebody there?
Yeah, so it's either going to be Mark or myself. So if you go to fariscapitalpartners.com, that's FARIS, you can book in a time. We have our calendars open, and you can click in, book in a time. You'll connect with Mark or myself. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll have my name here in the podcast. So if somebody wants to just put that in LinkedIn, thankfully there's not a lot of John Makarewicz's, so I'm sure you'll find me. And just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to schedule in a call.
John, who's the handsome rooster on your website?
That's Mark Faris. That's Mark. That's my business partner.
Damn.
Yeah. He's the face of the company.
Well, we should have put him on there. He'll get all the girls.
Yeah, right?
The girls calling in. No offense, John. You're not too bad yourself.
No offense taken. That's why he's the face.
Damn. All right. I'm jealous. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, John Makarewicz. And let's pop over the ditch now to Dr. Seitz. Hello, Doctor.
They call me Dr. Hank.
Dr. Hank.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tell us what you've been up to, Dr. Hank.
Well, first of all, I want to share that I think John's, he really has a great, solid business plan there, and love on what he has to offer. And real estate, I'm also in real estate, and in mainly residential. I'm on the mortgage side, both sides of residential, and real estate has always gone up and will always continue to go up. And again, whether with John's situation that maybe something does happen in 5-7 years, but ultimately that investment will go up. And so you got a solid business plan there, John.
Thank you, Dr. Hank. Appreciate that.
All right. What's a mental scientist, Dr. Hank?
Yes. Well, thank you, Julian. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Hank, and everybody calls me Dr. Hank. And I am a mental scientist. And basically, some people say to me, oh, how does the brain work? And this is not on the brain. This is on our thoughts. And that science has proven that for us to have anything that we want, so any of our dreams to come true, anything, any relationships, health, it doesn't matter what it is, it just takes 3 steps. And according to the scientists that have proven this, and the first step is with our all-powerful thought. And so what's interesting is we have 60,000 thoughts a day, Julian, and 80% of those thoughts are typically unwanted or negative thoughts. Gee, I hope I don't have traffic. Gee, I hope I don't get cancer. Gee, I hope the economy doesn't go to hell. Whatever it is that we're thinking most of the time of what we don't want. And then back to the scientists, they say our thought creates energy. And this energy is actually our emotions, our feelings. And that energy then is a whole universe, again, proven by science, the whole universe is energy. We, with our minds, can literally mold the energy that creates worlds into our own experience. And so our thought creates energy, and then according to the scientists, that energy creates matter, matter. And this is why thoughts become things, Julian.
And what types of people do you coach Dr. Hank?
Yeah, yeah. So I've written 24 books on this subject. For example, Easy Money, Easy Life is one of the books. It's also a program. Think, Feel, and Grow Rich. Because of this thinking and feeling, it's about how we're feeling. And then another book, just and again, a sample of it, but Your Royal Path to Riches. And so I help people from all walks. I've helped people overcome cancer. I've helped people build $1 million companies, have better relationships. It doesn't matter what it is. It's for us to have clarity of what we desire, and what we desire to then think about thoughts to where you're thinking about it, where you feel that you have it. And once you can feel having, so for example, that if I want to be healthier, and I can really feel, wow, I'm being healthy and walking and enjoying outside and breathing and feeling great, that will, once I feel that, once I believe what my thought is, that then I will actually create health. So I help anybody in any situation, and so I help teenagers that are wanting to commit suicide, to people that entrepreneurs who want to build their business, and I guarantee at least a 400% return on investment. It's really priceless when you talk about health or whatever, but if it's like a business, at least a 400% return on investment. I used to serve Fortune 100 companies around the world and just got sick of traveling in the politics with that. And now I mainly do individuals who are looking to and want to be, do, and have more.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's drhankseitz.com. He's got a whole heap of books out there. Probably the best thing to do is, if you're interested in learning more, is read some of the books. The links are in the show notes. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Hank.
Yeah, you bet.
No worries. Well, I'm going to wrap things up. We went really over time. I don't know how. We played a long game, I guess. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time, everyone.